Watching my show.
Ready? Thank you. Meeting called to order. This is the April 28th, 26th council meeting. Would the clerk read the statement of compliance?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 and sec, having been duly advertised and posted in the municipal building in compliance with NJSA 10:4-8D. The meeting will adjourn no later than 10 p.m. unless the majority of the council members present vote to extend the time.
All rise for pledge of allegiance. Remain for a moment of silence afterwards. Chief, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we have a special occasion today. We are going to be swearing in a junior firefighter. At this time, I'd like to ask Daniel Palkowitz to come forward with both his mother and his father.
You're going to be facing the mayor, not me.
What you guys have to say?
Right. See? You need to put it in front.
Come on, Mom.
Come
You
on.
got to come in here. So
We're
first,
going to hold it. You put your hand up.
okay.
It's over there, you
So
said.
obviously, we've got a second-generation firefighter here. Andrew's been a firefighter in Oakland here for 7 years. He's held the ranks of lieutenant. He's currently in his second year as captain, and it's really nice to see that the tradition carries on through the Palkowitz family. All right? So at this time, put your hand on the Bible. You're going to repeat after me. I, Daniel Palkowitz,
I, Daniel Palkowitz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and the governments
and the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office
of the office
of Volunteer Fire Department Junior Firefighter,
of Volunteer Fire Department Junior Firefighter,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Mom.
Pictures, quick.
Go take a picture?
Yes, please. We didn't turn it off.
Mine's off.
One more. Thank you.
Daniel, I just need you to sign this. And then,
Thank you.
and I'll work it. Another thing?
No, it's good.
You good?
Yeah. Working?
Oh, we got it. Okay. Just gonna shake.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Congratulations.
All right, this time we'll take a 2-minute recess for those people who wish to leave. Meeting back in session. All right, we're up to roll call.
Mayor Kamala.
Here.
Council President Talamini.
Here.
Councilman Dumbert.
Here.
Councilman Eilert.
Here.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Here.
Councilwoman Rose.
Here.
Councilman Saliani.
We have a motion to excuse Councilman Saliani.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Talmy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're up to the mayor's report. I got several items. I'm going to first start with the affordable housing update. As I reported last meeting, we had a meeting with New Jersey DEP on April 15th to discuss water allocation. The special master was present during the meeting. And for the people, just to give you a very high level of what this is all about, at this time, no residents, no businesses can connect to any of the sewer systems in Oakland because the water allocation permit does not allow it. Okay? However, if they do want to connect, it requires a change to the wastewater, our water allocation in town, which means that we would have to procure water from either Veolia or some other company in order to be able to connect any of these buildings to the sewers. Okay? There is currently a follow-up meeting scheduled in June that our special adjudicator will be participating in as well. We do not have a date in June. Once we have that date, we'll report it to the community. Also, for TDC, better known as the McBride property, TDC filed a motion to enforce its rights concerning the Page Drive access. This meeting is scheduled for May 8th. We do not know if it's open to the public at this point. Our attorney's looking into it. Once we have that information, we'll certainly notify the entire community that it affects those people who wish to attend can come down to the hearings down in Hackensack. This March 20th, there's Fever Pitch, the softball baseball parade starting at 9 a.m. at the library. May 20th, I'm sorry, May 20th. We had a wonderful Arbor Day. I'm going to leave that report to Councilwoman Rose. We really had a special event on Saturday. I know our other councilman also attended as well with the tree giveaway, but I'll let her explain all the good news that came out of that. The Oakland Historical Society participated in the Northwest Bergen History Coalition on the 12th, and Oakland was one of 12 open houses throughout Bergen County, which residents had an opportunity to visit, all celebrating the 250th. Also on April 26th, Sunday, there was a lecture with Historical Society at the Oakland Library, and it was about Robert Erskine. I'm sure many people have heard Erskine Lake up in Ringwood. Robert Erskine was George Washington's map maker during the war. And it's just, interestingly enough, a lot of the rudimentary original maps of all of New Jersey were all originated in this area because of the war. And Oakland is very much displayed with the Ponds Church, with landmarks and everything. They're really part of the history of North Jersey. They also wanted me to announce that on Sunday, May 17th, there's another open house from 1 to 4 at Van Allen House. It's called Brides and Mothers. They're looking for residents that have old bridal gowns, something over 100 years old, so they can put it up for display. And accessories as well. And any old photos going back to the last century, which are going to be part of the exhibit. So if anybody has that information, you can contact.
1900s.
What's that?
1900s.
Yeah. Pat, do you have a wedding gown?
I have pictures.
Oh, yeah, if you could. Yeah,
Not of me, but my mother.
your mother. But yeah, so they're looking for that kind of material for the event on the 17th. And if anybody has anything, you can email Eric Schauback. His email is eschauback, which is eschauback.ohs@gmail.com. That's eschauback.ohs@gmail.com. Also, we completed, last Saturday, they had the town park cleanup. Councilman Eilert and I attended that as well. We want to thank all the volunteers that really braved the poor weather that day. But we did have several volunteers that had an opportunity to clean up Stewart Woods, the rec field, Great Oak Park, and Potash Lake as well. So thanks for all those people that weathered the bad weather. And also, just another reminder, on May 9th is going to be the kickoff of the Veterans Drive here by the library for the Arts and Crafts Fair. So the first day is May 9th. I believe there's 14 days that are scheduled. I forget how many events, but check on the town calendar for additional dates and events. And that concludes my
Calendar online.
town calendar online. Yeah. And that concludes my report. At this time, do I have a motion to open to public?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public wish to address the governing body?
Hi, I'm Jerry Anger-Mueller, 24 Lakeview Terrace in Oakland. And I was glad to see that you guys approved, you want to apply for a grant to have the historic resources in town evaluated. So I want to speak in favor of that because often I say, oh, we want to preserve these elegant old homes and everything. And people say, oh, we have to let people do with their property what they want to do. But of course, that's not always exactly true. You know, you can't, you have to shovel your snow in the winter. There's an ordinance about that. You can't put a business in a residential area. There are zoning regulations and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of things where, yeah, you have to ask permission. You have to get a variance or something. So there are ways to try to keep the town the way the residents would like to do that. So that's one thing. So another question is, why would somebody buy a house that they don't want, that they want to change? Because, you know, somebody mentioned Cape May, for instance. This isn't Cape May. We want to preserve our homes. Why would somebody build a beautiful old home when Oakland certainly treasures its historic sites? I know Remax bought the beautiful building in town, and they use that as an office because they know it's elegant. And like, I don't see anybody having wedding receptions at the old Burger King building, right? That's not so interesting. They like to go to across the street to the old Hanson House and have weddings there because it's elegant. And so while we're waiting to do the investigation as to the historic significance of a lot of houses, and we have to do zoning, perhaps we could zone some areas and say, these are areas that we want to keep in a certain zone. I know there are residential and commercial areas down there, but we want to keep it in a zone like the streetscape to try to preserve and protect some of those buildings, because if somebody comes in and buys it and doesn't like the building and they feel they can just take it down, well, if you zone it properly, then people know, well, I won't even bother buying that building because I won't be able to do anything else with it. Because, you know, you don't have to go to Cape May to see elegant old homes. You go up Ramapo Valley Road into Mawa. There's just one beautiful, elegant site there after another. Or you go through Franklin Lakes, and there are beautiful buildings. There's almost every street in Ridgewood, which is certainly all very valuable landscape there that, you know, they wouldn't want to take that down. They preserve their buildings because they're valuable, and people pay taxes, and so we have to consider that too, and say maybe there's something even before we do the study investigation of the historic significance. Maybe there's something the zoning department could do to make sure that we keep our town looking as beautiful as it is. You know, when you redid the library, you didn't take down the old library because you wouldn't want to take down the old library. You added a new part, and there are ways to do things. And I just wanted to, you know, support the effort to maintain the look of the town and preserve some of the buildings that people love here in town.
Thank you, Jerry. And thank you for all your hard work during the historical day and all the events.
That was
you've been on.
a lot of fun. We had a lot of great people come to visit Van Allen.
Thank you. Anybody else? Not seeing any, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Dumper. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're up to approval of minutes. We have April 14th, 2026. I know it's all been distributed to everybody. Anybody have any changes? Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Rose and Mr. Ryler. Roll call?
Council President Talamini?
Yes.
Councilman Dumpert?
Yes.
Councilman Eilert?
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
All right, we have April 14th, 2026, executive minutes. As you know, if anybody has any changes, it can only be done in executive session. If nobody has any changes, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Talamini. Roll call.
Council President Talamini?
Yes.
Councilman Dumpert?
Yes.
Councilman Eilert?
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
All right, we're up to raffle licenses. We have raffle license RL1600 for the Oakland Volunteer Fire Department for Carnival Games from June 17th to the 20th, 2026, to support the Oakland Volunteer Fire Department at Waller Drive Recreation Facility, Oakland, New Jersey. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Talamini, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dumper, roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Yes.
Councilman Eyler,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
All right, we're up to the public hearing of the budget. We've had several meetings, public meetings discussing the budget, and at this time, we're up for final adoption, but before we do that, we have to approve a resolution 26-144 authorizing calendar year 2026 budget to be read by title only. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
That was Mr. Dumper.
Mr. Dumper, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Rose? Any discussion? Not seeing any? Roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yeah, just let me say thank you once again for everyone and everything that they do for the budget, all the hard work that they put in, our CFO, our borough administrator, our clerks, the whole borough administration. They do a great job. It's a hard thing to put this budget together, but they do it every year, and thank you. So, yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Yes.
Councilman Eyler,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, we're up to the final adoption of our budget, 26-145 budget adoption. Do I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
As it's a public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Island. Roll call for open to public.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Yes.
Councilman Eyler,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
This is a public hearing on this year's budget. Does anybody from the audience wish to comment or have any questions about the budget? Not seeing any? Do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Hang on, who's got the,
Wait,
Pat?
that was
And
Pat.
who got the second?
Second.
Mr. Eiler? Roll call?
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Yes.
Councilman Eyler,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
All right, this time, who would like to make a motion for final adoption of this year's budget?
So moved.
I'm
Got
sorry.
Carol Ann first.
Carol Ann? And
Second.
Mr. Pignatelli on the second.
Got it.
Any further discussion? Not seeing any? Roll call for adoption of budget.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Having not had the opportunity to work through the process with the various agencies and representative, I will be abstaining.
Councilman Eyler,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. I want to thank all the members of the governing body and all our professionals and department heads. This is a long, drawn-out process. This takes months to put this budget together, and I think you guys have really put together a nice, a good budget for this year, especially concerning all the issues with insurance and everything else that we've been facing this year. All right, this time we are up to resolutions. We'll do this as a consent. We have 26-146, authorizing recreation refunds. We have 26-147, authorizing utility refund for Alua. 26-148, authorized utility refund for Hall. 26-149, authorized affidavit of discharge of tax liens, certification number 22-00020. 26-150, capital projects cancellations. 26-151, authorized hire of DPW laborer. 26-152, authorized hire seasonal DPW employees. 26-153, authorized accrued time payout for Catrino. 26-154, authorized shared service agreement for SCLO 3, these are special officers for Indian Hills. 26-155, authorized share service agreement for SLEO 3. These, once again, these are the specials for Oakland K through 8 schools. 26-156, authorized liquor license expansion for outdoor dining for the area of Doc Watson's. And 26-157, award contract for copiers. Does anybody wish to pull any out?
Could we, 156?
156? Anybody else? Not seeing any, with the exception of 26-150 cents, as a consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Eilert, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Talamini, roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumper,
Yes.
Councilman Eilert,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
Mr. Talamini, 26-152, liquor license.
So I just have a question. So they're going to extend the liquor license into the outdoor dining, but that just, it makes it like regular liquor service? It's not, it's like you would be ordering from within in the restaurant?
Right, so do you want me to answer, Rich? Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So basically, it's the same rules as serving inside, so they have limits on how much they can do based on tables and how many alcoholic beverages they can serve. I did send off to zoning and PD and everybody, nobody had any objections to their expansion, and obviously it's seasonal, because they're not gonna have outdoor dining in the winter.
And so we would have to approve it every year if they were going to do it?
If they're going to do it every year, yes.
And I remember when we were doing it, I thought they couldn't serve the alcohol outside? They couldn't set up a bar outside?
No, they can't set up a bar, but they can bring the drinks out by waitress like they do in the regular part of the restaurant. They can't have a bar out there. And they had to get Board of Health and zoning approval for the outdoor dining area for food, as well as now the expansion to be able to serve the alcohol out there. So, and they've applied to the ABC, and the ABC has approved that, and the next step is for the council to approve.
And the ABC is the one that says you can't set up the bar, right?
Alcohol beverage
That's
control,
not,
correct.
that's not our
Right,
rule, that's not.
right.
All right, that was it. Thank you.
Any other further questions? Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve 26-156 to authorize liquor license expansion for outdoor dining area for Doc Watson's?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Dumper, Mr. Talamini, roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yes, I can't wait to have a beer.
It's good for business, yes.
Councilman Eilert,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
All right, we're up to ordinance. We are introducing 26 capital 989 capital ordinance. Mr. Coon.
Thank you. So the capital and bond ordinances are sort of an adjunct to the budget process. You just appropriated an amount in the capital improvement fund. The capital ordinance and the bond ordinance actually authorizes funding for the capital plan. We've gone over this in the budget hearings. So everything is in the capital plan ordinance. You have that in your packets with all of the various purchases that we're proposing. Everything from IT stuff to putting money aside for a fire truck and equipment purchases for DPW and police cars and the like. The bond ordinance this year is specifically for the road program and the downtown improvements, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Both ordinances together appropriate $4,258,500. That's just shy of $3 million in the capital ordinance, which includes not only money from the capital improvement fund, but also capital surplus, the open space trust, and grants that have come in as well that are pledged towards that amount. And the bond ordinance is in the amount of $1,260,000.
Do we have any questions? Not seeing it at this time. Does somebody want to make a motion for introduction for 26 capital 989 capital ordinance?
So moved.
Second. Rose, Mr. Eilert with the second. Roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumpert,
I'm struggling because in here we also have included the basketball courts. Is it possible to pull those aside and vote on those separately?
We had our open for
Yeah.
discussion. We already closed discussion on that.
Yes.
Councilman Eilert,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
All right, we're up to, final hearing will be May 12th for the public to comment on the capital ordinance. Next, we have 26 bond 990 bond ordinance. If somebody wish to introduce.
So moved.
Ms. Rose?
Second.
Mr. Eilert, any discussion? Not seeing any? Roll call.
Council President Talamini,
Yes.
Councilman Dumpert,
Yes.
Councilman Eilert,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rose.
Yes.
Public hearing and final adoption will be held May 12th here at council chambers. All right, currently we're up to work session. Mr. Coons opposed S1836.
Yes, this is an issue that municipalities alerted us to, and all municipalities to. And I think this is part of the state's larger effort regarding affordable housing. This bill would basically enhance the ability for religious and nonprofit organizations to convert certain property that they own into inclusionary housing developments, as long as it meets the zoning requirements in the state law, thereby preempting local zoning. And the issue here is we've all spent a considerable amount of time crafting our fourth round affordable housing elements and fair share plans, and going through the entire fourth round process with challengers. And then this would come in on the heels of that, potentially lead to even more development that really doesn't comport with good planning or the town's wishes. And again, one of the main issues there is that it just would preempt local zoning, perhaps, and take that out of your hands. So wanted to alert you to that and ask that you consider at the next meeting adopting a resolution opposing the legislation.
Any discussion? I just want to say this affordable housing is a gift that just keeps giving. I mean, this is, we just went through round 4. We're still trying to settle this up. And now they want to take more property and neuter the municipality's ability to have any zoning or control over any of these applications.
Yeah.
I just want to put on the record, this bill is sponsored by Senator Troy Singleton, District 7 out of Burlington, and also Senator Bernie E. Wimberly, District 35 out of Bergen and Passaic. It was co-sponsored by Senators McKnight and Timberlake. And quite frankly, this is, we all moved to this community for a reason. We were not expecting urban sprawl. We were not expecting high-density housing. And I think we have an opportunity here to make our voices known.
I agree with the mayor. I'm sick and tired of the state of New Jersey taking away our local authority. And what the basis is, it's beyond me that we even have our local zoning laws that are pushed aside to be decided by the state. It's just unfair.
Anybody else?
I'd like to add, there's several residents that have approached me, urging for this governing body's opposition to things like this, and I know I speak for myself when I say this, and I believe we're all united in this notion of fighting overdevelopment in Oakland, of maintaining the culture that so many families have worked so hard to develop here, and in maintaining the beauty, the charm, and Mr. Mayor, to your point, the reason why people sought out this community to live here. I'm committed to doing that smartly, with the advice of council, and using the instruments that are available to us so that we don't put the borough in jeopardy, but we do it through thoughtful deliberation and applying those skills and those expertise that we have through our outside counsel and others. So I think we're all united in that notion, and Pat, I share your frustration that the state of New Jersey is forcing this upon so many local municipalities.
Now let's call it what it is. It's nothing more than the builders driving more and more profits. That's all this is about.
Yeah.
That's all this is about. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Coons, will we have that prepared for next meeting?
Yes.
All right, as you know, we were talking about the road opening ordinance last week. There were several questions concerning trenching. I've asked our engineer to be present here, Mr. Kimmick. There was quite a discussion about it.
It's been a long time.
Would you explain trenching to us and the governing body, and why we have to wait 6 months, or if there's better ways of handling trenching so we can pave sooner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I believe this section is 12-2.8G of the current code, and it states, after a reasonable settlement period which consists of at least one freeze-thaw cycle, but no more than 1 year from the initial opening, final restoration will require infrared application or 2-inch compacted surface course of the bituminous surface, it's I-5, to be placed over the entire trench. So I believe the concern is that long freeze-thaw cycle. So I conferred with our experts at Boswell. That could be shortened to 1 month, with the caveat that the trench be compacted in 6-inch lifts, and that it passes a 95% Proctor compaction at each one of those lifts, And in order to certify that, I would say that either we, as the borough engineer, would have to inspect that, or we get a certification by somebody that has witnessed that, that can sign to it. So we could certainly shorten that period. We lifted this from the Bergen County and the Franklin Lakes road opening permit. And I don't want to speculate too much, but I suspect that they probably took the approach that, you know, they didn't have this control over inspecting things. So we could certainly give that option in here to shorten it up. As I'm sure you know, we have this problem with PSE&G within the borough, and we want to get those trenches and those streets fixed as quickly as possible.
But what was concerning to me was that for the first frost, if you open a trench in April, you gotta wait another 8 months before you pave it. And I think that's just ridiculous. I think if you use non-organic material, compact it in 6-inch lifts, you're gonna get sufficient compaction that it's not gonna be sinking.
I agree, Councilman. So if the council is okay, I could give Mr. Kuhn's language to change here, and then I guess we would have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
It just opened too long, too long, and they don't come back.
No, I agree. I guess my question to the engineer is, can we make public service do this?
Yes, we certainly can.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't, you know, I think we want to, quite frankly.
Okay.
Because historically, and in other towns that we serve, we don't watch, excuse me, public service 24/7. As you know, sometimes they're a moving target. It's very frustrating. We don't know when they're out there. But to require this certification from them, I think would be a good compromise. And we could certainly shorten up the period. I believe that section talks about 1 year. We could talk about maybe shortening that up to 6 months, weather permitting. So, because right now, the ordinance allows this trench to be not permanently restored up to a year. So we could certainly shorten that to 6 months, which I think is reasonable, and weather permitting. We really don't want people restoring trenches from like November 15th to April 15th. And I believe the ordinance talks about that. So as soon as the weather breaks on April 16th, for anything they've opened during the winter, you know, they should be out there restoring it.
So you have to stipulate that in the ordinance.
Yes.
November to April, you know.
Don't be so flexible. Tighten it up and get this a lot quicker and give them, and require this certification.
Now, the certification would come from PSE&G or whomever the utility is.
They would have to.
You wouldn't have to go out and do it.
That is correct. Either or.
I would make them do it. Why should we do it?
You know, they could put up escrow and pay for our inspector to be out there, or
All right.
or they could provide a certification by, and we'll give the specification for a type of inspector that's certified for these types of things, and provide that to us, have it signed off, and then they could go ahead and restore the trench. And I think this is in the best interest of the borough. to speed it up.
Could the inspector be from the building department, from Oakland, or it would be?
No, that usually, or not usually, those inspectors are UCC code inspectors, and trenching is not part of the UCC code. So this typically falls under the borough engineer's purview.
And so, but basically, I mean, because this sounds like it's gonna be a little more money to fill a trench, so we'd be pushing that on to the contractor.
PSE&G, put up an escrow.
Yes.
Well, who's ever digging the road.
Yeah, and you know, we get occasionally plumbers that want to put it in a sanitary sewer. We don't have sanitary sewer in town, but we have others.
Right.
Very few and far between. Mostly, all of our road opening are by our own DPW, our own contractors, where we have our inspectors, or PSE&G. So they're all big entities that can certainly absorb the cost, especially PSE&G.
So if it's you mentioned DPW, so
our DPW would have to comply with this also.
Yes, they would.
Okay, sounds good to me.
What are the additional costs to the borough in something like this?
There might be an additional cost, say, for the DPW, for the water service, I would think, maybe. And maybe that's something we could talk about,
Okay.
so that it doesn't get passed on. I think it gets, so if you're thinking about PSE&G, they won't, like, target Oakland, it won't be like a tariff, and target Oakland, users with a slightly higher rate because they have to, I've never seen that happen, so. But we would talk with the DPW and see if this could be absorbed.
So under this plan, no additional costs to the borough. When it's PSE&G doing the digging and doing the trench work, no additional cost to the borough because that's money from PSE&G that's put into escrow, and that's what's paid for the certification. After the fact, the materials, if the cost differs from organic to non-organic, all of those costs are shouldered by PSE&G.
They're supposed to do that regardless, those materials, and compact it that way. We just don't know for sure if they're actually doing that or taking shortcuts. With regard to the escrow, that escrow would only be posted to pay for us. And we could certainly, they could do that. My guess is they don't want to do that, and that they would rather have their own inspector give a certification. That's the way they would do it. But regardless, I
And
don't
we as a
think...
governing body would have control over whether we authorize them to bring their own people to certify, to self-certify, or whether Boswell Engineering, Borough's engineer, would be the one to do that.
If the council wants to do that, to make that tight, we could certainly do that.
It really depends on the specific language that you write into your code, whether you leave that to the discretion of PSE&G or the applicable utility, or whether you dictate it more closely in the ordinance.
Mr. Kimmick, an engineer is an engineer. It doesn't matter whether it's you or theirs or anybody else. They're the same certifications, same standard.
A certification from them is just as good as our inspector out there inspecting it, in our mind.
If we change to this type of an approach, are there any risks to other underground infrastructure or any risks to the public in making a change like this?
No, there are not.
And then the only thing I might say is if we, once we do this, maybe after a year, we look at it and we say, the roads look fine after doing it this way, then great. But if we're noticing that the trenches aren't holding up like they should, maybe we have to look at the ordinance again.
I just want to say, just to let everybody know, Mr. Kimmick and I did meet with Lennar last week concerning paving of McCoy Road. That was an open-ended item. And speaking with the contractor or the builder, they are looking to pave in June once school is out to pave McCoy Road. Mr. Kimmick and I and DPW and the Borough Administrator have been meeting with Public Service as well, trying to get a handle on getting the public service roads paved as well. And right now, Mr. Kimmick, I believe we're looking at possibly June or July. Is that kind of where we are?
June or July, I would really like to tighten that up. I really like to get their plan now, to know precisely what they're doing, what the limits are. I just don't want them showing up and forcing something that's not acceptable to us. So we're trying to get them to the table here and talk with them as soon as possible.
And we did go through this process last year as well for Mr. Dumper's certification. We did have a sit down at some point. We did come up with a plan with Public Service. We're just trying to nail that down. Did they finish all the cut-ins yet, or is the project still ongoing?
According to Oakland PD, as of about, I'm going to say 3 weeks ago, they only had 5 more services. But frankly, I question. Now, I don't question Oakland PD. I question what Public Service tells the Oakland PD. So they told the Oakland PD they only had 5 more services. 5 sometimes turns into 10 and 15. But
All right, so we'll set up a meeting next couple of weeks with Public Service, and we'll get this thing nailed down and find out what the status is.
I just have one more question. So this would only apply to dedicated roads, right? So for instance, in the subdivision, they sell units and people move in before the roads are dedicated. Is that possible?
like at Lennar?
Yeah.
Well, everything is in place underground. They're dictated by their HOA. Those roads are all private roads. Those are not roads
Oh, so
owned
they-
and operated by the borough. So,
Okay.
so we would, if we do get a complaint, say on rough roads within the reserve, they're borough residents, it would have to be the HOA that would have to take care of it, not the borough.
So those roads will not be dedicated to the borough?
No.
So the borough wouldn't have to plow them in the winter?
Correct.
Mr. Coons?
Correct. I mean, Condo Services Act basically gives us the option. But what we would most likely do is what we do for Oakwood Knolls right now, where there's a calculated payment sort of specified in the law for how you do that, and they would get a payment in lieu.
Any further discussion concerning this?
So just to recap, Mayor, I'll work with Borough Administrator and DPW on language and with the goal of having it for the council's consideration at the next meeting.
Okay.
Is that all right, Rich?
And just a reminder too, there's a couple other changes we're going to be making here. One is regarding the time frame that you have to start and complete the work, and also we're going to provide for greater notice in the ordinance as well to make it a little bit easier to and better to inform the residents and to schedule traffic control as well.
Okay.
Rich, as those meetings come together, would you mind keeping me in the loop as liaison to DPW?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're moving on to engineering's proposal streetscape design. So as many people know, there's a lot happening downtown with Bush Plaza being completed, 455 by the Exxon. They had to we passed the streetscape ordinance in the first year, so we start creating some uniformity in the downtown area. That project is going. We have the McDonald's going. The Oakland Drugs has to adhere to the streetscape ordinance as well. So for a couple of years, I've been talking about, and thank you for the council for putting it into the budget, we want to now start working on the streetscape in the downtown area. As you know, we did the bottom of Yawpo with the new sidewalks to find all those corners. And now what we'd like to do is have a streetscape improvement going from the railroad tracks 202 south to Maple Avenue, which will grab all the storefronts on the left-hand side of the road as you're heading toward ShopRite. We've been working with Ed Clark, we've been working with our borough engineer, and at this point we think we have a pretty good plan going forward, because what we hear is, why does Oakland's downtown look so terrible? And by putting the street lights on that one side, start pulling that whole line from Bush Plaza, the Walgreens, 455, start moving that line up, and next year we start working more on the other side of the road. And with that being said, Mr. Ukemic, you want to talk about your proposal and what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so this proposal has been gelling over the last couple of weeks. This is, quite frankly, an ambitious project for the borough. The mayor has also tasked us with looking into and considering the cleanup of overhead utilities into downtown, and to smartly get those utilities underground. That's as I said, an ambitious task. We have a meeting with Rock Electric scheduled for May 12th. This proposal is really separated into two components. The first thing we're recommending to the borough is that we develop a conceptual plan of the downtown at a large scale. We look at the entire area from along Rampo Valley Road, from Franklin all the way to Oak Street, and also outlying spurs of that, of West Oakland Avenue, Yawpaw, Terhune, Elm Street, Maple, the loop where the bus station is at Raritan, and all these different sections, and come up with a conceptual plan, basically showing where the right-of-way is, where we would like our curb lines to be, where all the street trees would be placed, where all the street lighting would be placed, where all the current utility poles are, and while we're discussing with Rockland Electric, what would be the process of putting those overhead utilities underground, and what sections would we be talking about. So in order to do the detailed area that the mayor was talking about between Maple and Yawpaw, we feel it's very important to get an overall conceptual plan. So quite frankly, we're looking at the entire corridor and being consistent in our design and thinking and cadence with all the things that we want to do. So the conceptual plan is easy. That's easy, and I met with our internal group today, this afternoon. What I would like to do is bifurcate this proposal, and by the next mayor and council meeting, provide you with our cost to do a conceptual plan. I think the second component, I would much rather wait until we hear from Rockland Electric on May 12th on what, if anything, we could do to put conduits underground, things underground to facilitate those utilities going underground in the future. And if that segment is a smart segment to start at, as you know, the utility lines are on one side except for one pole at the corner of Yawpaw and Ramapo Valley Road. Or from Rockland's standpoint, is it easier to start putting things underground, say at 287, where it's already underground, as with the lines passing under the underpass at 287, would it be more cost effective to start at that location in front of the Walgreens? So that's kind of it in a nutshell on what we want to do, and as part of this proposal. I believe, the goal is to try to show the public some progress in 2026. This is a multi-year undertaking. It's going to be in several stages. We could talk about funding through grants and other means during this process, but the most important thing to do right now is to get this conceptual plan. Have it reviewed by DPW, have it reviewed by Oakland Shade Tree, have it reviewed by our town planner, and gain a consensus of what we want to do for the downtown. Any questions?
Any questions?
I think it's important, Mr. Mayor, kudos to you for spearheading this. It's not just, for me, it's not just an aesthetic project, although that will drive value in Oakland. It's a public safety issue. I think the distractedness of downtown for pedestrian and crosswalk safety is critical. And I think as we talk about all the issues that we talk about in this governing body with the affordable housing, with the potential population boom, with the pedestrian safety and incidents that have happened historically, this is not just an aesthetic issue for me. This plays into the public safety as well. So if I can be helpful, please let me know.
And I think it's also important to build on what Mr. Dumpert's saying. Once we start investing in our downtown and our sidewalks, the lighting and the streetscape, then we can go to business owners and say, hey, listen, now it's your turn. We've done our part. So we're going to start engaging business owners as well as we start going through this process. Okay, anybody else? Okay. All right, Mr., you'll have that proposal ready for the next meeting then, correct?
Yes, for the conceptual plan.
Okay, very good. All right, new business.
Some new business. I'd like to offer a motion to reinstate the second public speaking session at council meetings. Really the driving force for me on this is the freedom for the public to engage its elected officials, I think should be protected, and if the public chooses not to exercise that right, that is their prerogative. But I do think that should be afforded to them by the governing body in abundance. So I'd like to put forward a motion to reinstate the second public session at council meetings.
Discussion? Second. Discussion?
Well, I mean, I think that we always have the ability to, obviously if the room was more crowded, to open up a second section if we needed to. I don't think it has to be something, obviously today, nobody came up for the first session, much less, oh, except in front. Except of Jerry, sorry. But, you know.
Yeah. To me,
Yeah.
the
I think it should be just on a case-by-case,
I understand.
meeting by meeting.
I understand.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Of course,
I'm
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We've been doing this now for a year and a half or whatever, year and a quarter, third. I'd like to see this brought up maybe in January to start the year, because we've been doing it for a while. If there's an item 50 on the agenda, it can be brought up in the beginning at regular open session, and the person can talk about it, even though we haven't gotten to that item yet. So there is an opportunity. I think people are used to it being only one session. I think if we do this in January, we set the tone for the entire year. But that's only my opinion.
If I may, really the driving force here, as I introduced, was, you know, I don't think it's the government's place in any forum to restrict the public's ability to comment and engage with their elected leaders. It's less about how full the room is and what's on our agenda. It's more about protecting that ability for general citizens to have an open dialogue with their elected officials. And I'll rest my comments with that.
Well, I mean, I also think that if nobody's gonna speak in the second session, then there's nothing lost. Like, I think they should have the opportunity. Either way, I mean, it should be there for them. And if there is nobody, then there is nobody, but I feel like they should have that opportunity.
Any other discussion?
I mean, the open session is the opportunity for the people to express their views on items on the agenda. So it's not like we don't give them the opportunity, but I think they do have the opportunity. As I said, even if the item is last on the agenda, it can still be brought up during an open session.
But as the meetings go on, something might spark them to want to say something. Then they won't have that opportunity to speak again. You know, until the following meeting, 2 weeks from now.
I think we've been pretty inclusive when there has been discussion. We've invited people up to talk, and it hasn't been something that we've stopped anyone from talking.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be at our discretion whether we want people to talk or not.
It's just
You know, it should be something that there should be, I mean, it's been that way for, you know, as long as I can remember, so.
So in the two other councils that I'm aware of, the Fairview Council only had one open, the Harrington Park only had one open. Most towns that I know of only have one open.
I mean, my question would be, why do you not want a second one?
Why do I?
Why do you not want a second session? That's my real question.
I don't think it's necessary.
I disagree.
So do I.
Any further discussion? Not seeing any? So where are we?
So we have a motion
We have a
to
motion.
introduce a second public, and we have a second to introduce
Second.
a second public. We can take a vote.
Okay. Well, at this point, if we have a motion and a second, no further discussion, roll call.
Council President Talamini?
No.
Councilman Dumpert?
Yes.
Councilman Eilert?
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli?
No.
Councilwoman Rose?
No.
Okay. All right, we're up to council, any old business? Not seeing any? All right, council liaison reports. I'm going to start at the right this time. Councilman Talamini.
I have nothing to report. No, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes, I do have something to report from the senior citizens. Here it is. On May 7th at 12 noon, A Taste of History, Asian Immigration to America, Lunch and Learn. We will be watching a documentary on Asian immigration to America and enjoying a Chinese food lunch. The cost is $5 per person. On May 21st at 1 p.m., We have sun safety presentation presented by the Bergen County, I think it's Bergen County Health Department, called Spot Skin Cancer. People are asked to RSVP by May 18th. And at the Board of Health meeting, this last Board of Health meeting we had, the health educator from Bergen County's, new health educator from the Bergen County Health Department, came to the Board of Health meeting and introduced several programs that they would like to have. This is one of them, and this is an excellent program. I was in public health myself. I gave a similar presentation myself. It's extremely important. There are a lot of cases of skin cancer. I mean, I had something removed from my forehead. Another member of my family had something removed. So it's extremely important. You know, some people think they don't need to put suntan lotion on. Well, that's not true. You have to have it on. And there are some products that really don't even do what they're supposed to be doing. They say they do, but they're really not. So that's an extremely important program on skin cancer. So please, if you have any questions, May 21st.
Councilman, is that open to the public or
Yes.
just to seniors?
No, it's open to the public.
It's open to everybody, okay.
So far, I mean, that's what I see here, unless it wasn't in the...
No, I'm pretty pale, I'd go to that. That's it?
Yep.
Councilman Dumber.
Thank you. Starting with the Municipal Alliance, there's a push for fundraising again. I brought it up last meeting. The Municipal Alliance is geared toward keeping at-risk communities from falling into drug or alcohol abuse. And one of the main keynote events that they sponsor is Project Graduation, which helps keep our high school students off the roads and in a structured environment post-graduation, keeps them out of trouble, keeps them, I think, involved in positive activities that evening. And there's a big delta between what's contributed publicly and what has to be fundraised. So as you see those fundraising efforts, please know that that does go to a good cause and consider donating. Onto the library. There are, for those residents who are not aware, I simply want to raise awareness to all of the programs that are available to the public, from adults to children and infants, really. There are support groups, there are activities, there are rentals, from video games to yoga to support groups, active website that details all of that. I'll encourage the residents to use it. It's one of the most well-run facilities I've seen, so I really encourage our residents to use it. On to DPW. The DPW has been filling potholes and will continue to do that over the next couple of weeks. They're seeking the residents' help. If you see potholes, please do feel free to report that by calling the DPW switchboard. The same goes for street lighting. If you see dimly lit lights or ones that are completely non-functional, please do report that to DPW. They are actively going around to identify those potholes and those lights that are out, but they could always use the public's help. Yard waste pickup has begun, and the reminder to properly bundle our yard waste I was asked to convey. And then lastly, which I think is tremendously impressive, and I don't want to steal too much of Councilwoman Rose's report on the trees, but DPW did accept the delivery of 34 trees that they will be planting throughout the borough over the next couple of weeks, and I think that's a tremendous program, and it's a tremendous way to bring life back to the areas of Oakland where trees were either removed or might be lacking. So thank you to DPW, and sorry if I stole some of that thunder, but I thought that was a wonderful event this past weekend.
Anything else? That's it?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, Councilwoman.
All right, thank you. Yes, the Arbor Day event was this past Sunday, and it went extremely well. Just to give you an idea of the types of how much we've distributed in trees. 72 trees were planted through the Adopt a Tree program, which is one of the ones that I participated in and did receive mine. It looks beautiful. 22 trees have been planted by the borough. 90 trees were given out for the junior program, which was this past Sunday. 515 saplings were purchased and given out at the event and to students, leaving only 100 of the saplings, which will end up being used for the houses that were torn down in the flood zone area. So that is, I have to say, is an overwhelming amount of trees that we worked on. It was probably the biggest amount that we've done this year. So, and anybody who wants a tree, because we did have a lot of people come and want one, please sign up for it. Go to the website, and email us to get the tree, to sign up for the tree. The next ones will probably be going out next year. And that's it.
Also, Columbia Bank donated a tree down at
That
Veterans
is true,
Park.
yes. Columbia Bank donated a tree as well.
And just so the public knows, these were good size, these were not saplings, these were good
Yeah,
sized
these were
trees,
good
probably an
sized
inch
trees.
around, probably 8 feet high. So this was a very substantive tree donation opportunity, so thank you
And
for all
it's a
the
great
visitors.
committee. I mean, the people on there are very passionate about what they do, and, it's a great group.
Anything else?
Nope.
Councilman Aller?
Thank you, Mayor. You had touched on it in your report, but the environmental committee did have their town cleanup on Saturday, and I just want to thank all the volunteers that came out in the rain. You all worked really hard, and you did an amazing job, and I just want to thank you all for coming out and keeping Oakland clean and green. And then on the Arts Committee, they are happy to announce that the market is opening. It's Saturday, May 9th from 10 to 3. So be sure to stop by, check out their crafts and baked goods, and I believe they're looking to get a fresh produce vendor to go there. So, and they're also having live music on the first day, so definitely stop by and check it out.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right. All right, we're up to bills to be paid. Councilwoman?
Okay, bills to be paid is $711,683.44. So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Council President Talamini?
Yes.
Councilman Dumbert?
Yes.
Councilman Eilert?
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli?
Yes?
Councilwoman Rose?
Yes.
You got it?
I was going to say Sally Ann.
Okay.
He's not
All right, do
here.
we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Who's got it? Mr. Eilert, who's got the second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Talmy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next council meeting, this concludes this meeting. Our next council meeting will be held Tuesday, May 12th, 2026, 7 p.m. here at the council chambers. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Meeting adjourned.